Have you ever had nightmares about doing homework? This might be the movie for you. It's Where is the Friend's House by the great Iranian director Abbas Kiarostami. Let me tell you what I think this movie's about in part and analyze it and talk about it coming up next. So Where is the Friend's House is the first part of what would become the Coker trilogy here in the Criterion Collection edition. This was not a formal trilogy, and Kiarostami did not set out to make a trilogy, but as you'll see in my later videos on the next two movies in the trilogy, it's a great overall 3-movie set, and this movie really is a good kids movie as well as just a beautiful movie and haunting movie to watch. At 83 minutes, Where is the Friend's House tells the basic story of a young boy in school and his classmate who's sitting right next to him forgets his homework and is told he'll be expelled if he ever forgets it again. Well, this young boy goes home and accidentally has taken his friend's notebook with him, which means his friend can't do his homework, which means the boy knows that he's responsible for getting his classmate expelled if he doesn't give the notebook back. This young boy, 8 years old, wants to go to a village, Pashte, across the way from Coker. It takes a little while, a foot journey to get there, and he ends up going there and trying to find his friend, a la the title, Where is the Friend's House, in order to give the notebook back. The movie focuses on this 8-year-old boy who is at once heartwarming and sympathetic, his giant eyes, and the camera focuses on him in a number of close shots, while then showing him in long shots feeling lost, alienated, and alone. One of the key themes of the movie is that adults do not listen to children, in particular the star of the movie, as he goes around asking, where is his friend? He asks his mother, can he bring the notebook to his friend? No one seems to listen to him. They all interrupt him. They all want to boss him around and tell him what to do. The impersonal nature of adults and maybe just human relations in general, as this kid making a strong ethical choice here to help his classmate out, going out of his way to return the notebook, is doing something different than all the other people in the movie who seem to be ignoring him or even despising him in general.
معامله دیگه چیزیه که دیگه 1000 تومان دیگه چیزی نیست که استفاده نداره. شما فکر می‌کنید قول جمال آقای جمالی نبود ما این کارا رو چیز نمی‌کردیم.
You even have at one point his grandfather, who was like an elder at the city gates, telling him to go get cigarettes. And then the movie breaks off into maybe a digression where the grandfather talks about the need for children to learn to obey at the first time they're told to obey. A major theme in this movie then is that kids need to learn to obey their authority figures versus this kid doing what he needs to do to help out a fellow classmate or peer, breaking the rules, as it were, perhaps. The movie is bookended by 2 school scenes. The opening is as you go through a door, very important doors in the movie, into the classroom, which is another one of those sort of harsh classroom setting. The teacher's an authoritarian. He's 10 minutes late, and yet he chides the students, and these are little boys, maybe second graders, let's say, for not sitting still for the 10 minutes while he is gone.
دیگه کیف و کتاب با خودتون نبریم و اونجا جا بذارین مثل نعمت ساده. وقتی که میگم مشق تو دفترتون بنویسین علتش اینه که
This brings up the idea in the movie that the adults do not understand their own follies and that their own behavior is harmful or it's hypocritical. And then the boys, well, they're going to act like little boys, sometimes forgetting their homework, sometimes being late to school, because they have to be, because they're working for their parents on the farm. And Kiarostami becomes, this point later in his career, really the director that, crosses the boundary or tries to bridge the gap between documentary and fictional film. And this movie feels a lot like a documentary. Even the children's performances in this movie, sometimes they're stilted, but when the kid cries over his homework, I really feel for him, and we've all been there, those of us who've been in formal schools. The fear of forgetting our homework, the fear of our teachers getting mad at us because of just little things that we've done and it's not our fault. And here that comes up, and it's the driving force in this movie. Now, as the young star of the movie wanders across the screen, he goes all over the place, seemingly, and gets lost in this neighboring village of Pashta, which we're told in the movie seems to be a ways away, and it's a little bit hard to get from the village that the boy resides in, Koker, to Pashta. As he gets lost in Pashta, the day goes on and on. This movie takes place over the span of about 24 hours, and eventually he gets lost in the middle of the city at night. It's a very haunting, beautiful, mystical last 20 minutes or so where the boy is in Pashta at night looking for his friend's house, and he finally meets an adult who helps him, and yet maybe this adult doesn't help him at all. It's a very interesting sort of transition near the end of the movie into this mystical night passage, which is also very scary. The wind picks up in this movie. By the way, great soundtrack, very sparse, but all of the noises in this movie, help each scene sort of develop. And the kid gets lost in a way with this older adult in the movie. And the man who helps him out is a maker of doors and windows, he says. A theme that comes up in this movie is the material substance of doors. Doors that are wooden, that are older, that could belong in a museum, as it's said in the movie, versus iron doors, these sort of newfangled doors that can keep the wind out, but will make the village or towns look quite different and are something new versus something old and traditional. As you can see by the few clips I'm putting up here, the doors appear all over the place, including at the very beginning, including at the end or near the end of the movie. And I suppose it's a question of the new generations, the little kids who are being taught in school. Will they adhere to much older traditions like the old men, the couple of old men shown in this movie? Will they adhere to newer things, newer traditions, as their fathers do in the movie? The little kid's father later in the movie, for example, is trying to get a radio to work. Another man who's maybe 40 years old is in the business of selling iron doors and replacing the older wooden doors. That also comes up in this movie. What's this newer generation going to be? To whom are they going to give honor, or are they going to do their own new thing? Perhaps suggested by the ethical choice of the star, the young boy of the movie. I find that the basic elements of the plot in this movie drive it forward. Wanting to do your homework, not get in trouble from an authority figure like a teacher, and then a kid getting lost, an 8-year-old being out on his own, may for some cultures and times and places not be that scary, but here this little kid goes around and doesn't know where he is, and no one will help him. A basic theme of certain fairy tales of all kinds all around the world, and here a basic fear of parents for the kids getting lost in some urban environment. This also comes up in later Iranian movies, for example by Jafar Panahi. You should take a look at the Disciple of Kiarostami, and I think it's a really wonderful plot device that gets viewers interested, and then you can go 1,000 different ways with it. Kiarostami is the master of cinematography and composition and putting different shots back to back. As I said earlier in the video, there's close shots of the kid making you feel emotionally connected to him, but then these long shots usually interacting, these two kinds of shots where you feel the kid is alone and lost. And so a wonderful land and geography that Kiarostami has created for this movie. And of course that sets up the entire Koker trilogy, which I'll talk about in other videos and you should take a look at. And it's worth pursuing this entire trilogy. What do you think of Where is the Friend's House? What do you think it means? I'm only briefly analyzing in more of a universal and generic way, but if you're from Iran or you know of Persian culture, Iranian culture, you can tell us a little bit more details about this movie, because I think there's quite a bit of sort of local or particular cultural knowledge here that may help us out if you know a little bit more about what's going on versus the doors, the artwork in this movie, and so on. Please subscribe to this channel for more great content. Thank you. Have a great day.